Where are you guys in? Are you guys East Coast?
Start recording. We're in New York, yes. So hi everyone, and welcome again to my audiovisual channel. I am Gabriela Handal, a draftsman and your host for this podcast, a conversation about art. Today I bring you episode 103 with artist Danny Galieote. You will have to tell me how you pronounce that. If you enjoy this video, please like and share all the videos and subscribe because these actions are very helpful. You can help even further by checking out the links in the description. So, Danny, welcome to a conversation about art. You are episode 103. Please tell our listeners and viewers who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Gabrielle. It's good to be here. My name's Danny Galieote. Fine artist, painter. I've been an animator at Disney for 12 years in the past.
Uh-huh.
They're, they're classic films like started, and I can go back into that, but so I started out of college. I started getting into how do I work? How do I make money? So I got into animation at the beginning. Started doing movies, and, and then I was always painting, and that led into my fine art career.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I could talk about tons of stuff. Where do you want me to start?
Well, all right, let me think a little bit because I indeed have questions about the subject of being an animator at Disney and then transitioning to only fine art career. Um,
Yeah.
so so you said that while you were an animator at Disney, you were still painting, like fine art, right? Is that right?
Yeah, so when I first started at Disney, I was really young. I was 22,
Okay.
and I was just out of college, out of art school, and I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to paint. I knew I also loved to draw. I was doing figure drawing every day, and if I could draw well, I can get a job doing something, either
Mm-hmm.
like story or animation or just something with art, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was doing figure drawing classes or going to the zoo. I was doing that like every day,
Mm-hmm.
like for a few years. I don't know how many years, but I was going every day, at least 6 days a week. Just drawing, either figure drawing or going to the zoo and drawing animals. And because I had met some people when I was in college who were did with Disney, I just I looked at sample portfolios had from the 90s, and quick sketches but really well done, and animals. And I was looking at a book by Ken Hultgren, and it had these super solid drawings, and I was so excited about
Mm-hmm.
those. And so I started like trying to emulate that going to the zoo. And I got an internship. I was 21, 22 years old. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up going to Disney, Florida, and I stayed there for 4 months. I was living in Orlando and doing the whole intern thing. And I came back and I started. I had like a couple months after that, and where there was no work, and then I was like, oh, they're calling me to work on Lion King. So I
Nice.
started on Lion King as a beginner, in like an in-betweener, and then that I quickly moved up to full animator by doing tests. I was doing tests to become an animator, doing rough animation, and I've always been a lover of movies,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of a ham. I love being on screen if I can be, like with my drawings, and stuff. I love that kind of stuff, and so more experience with animation, and I just kind of worked up into full-fledged animator. Hunchback Notre Dame, I did Clopan, Hercules. I did Young Hercules, Tarzan. I animated Turk, the monkey, Atlantis. I did Rourke. What was it? Treasure Planet, Jim Hawkins, and then Atlantis, Treasure Planet. And then I took a break, and then and I was always doing figure drawing when I was at Disney. So this segues into what you were saying. Workshops, drawing workshops and painting workshops. Doing figure drawing every day while I was an animator. They had workshops downstairs in like this, this workshop room. So I was going down there, and instead of going to lunch and, I don't know, socializing a lot, I was doing figure drawing, with a few people and stuff, and got me that mileage that I needed to my voice in drawing and painting. And so just through, just by mileage. And so our artists, teachers, I don't know if you guys have heard of Steve Houston.
Yeah.
My painting teacher, who was my first figure drawing teacher. And so
he's
so
the
I
one
was
that
kind of
draws the
working with
boxers,
these,
right?
really Steve? Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. So so I started, working with those guys and being better and better with figurative work. And while I was I became an animator, and I started going on Saturdays every Saturday after the week of work, doing figure drawing all week and animating. On Saturdays, I would spend the whole day painting at Steve Houston's studio.
Okay,
When he was in
this
Pasadena.
figure drawing that you're talking about that you said you would do during lunch while you were an animator at Disney, was that figure drawing in the Disney building?
Yep.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, they had so the first floor at Disney it's like 3 floors, and there was like this is the building in Burbank. So the first floor was a variety of like layout, and which is the backgrounds for the background design. There was a lot of executive type stuff, and then I forget, lots of different things. But then the second floor was animation. And then the third floor was like story and development. And back down to the first floor, they had like a basement. Underneath the first floor, there was a basement. In the basement, yeah, for painting and drawing and stuff.
That's cool. And
So
I mean,
we had
yeah, I mean that
models,
also
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense because I mean, when you started and for a long time after you started, animation was still by hand. Like but the drawings had to be drawn by hand. So that makes a lot of sense.
It was all Yeah, it was all 2D, they called it. 2D
Right.
animation, which is the
Okay.
paper and pencil. That's
Yeah.
all I knew. And so
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
just figure drawing, like constantly.
Mm.
That was like it was all about drawing and getting solid drawings, and started emulating my favorite figurative artists, like J.C. Leyendecker, or N.C. Wyeth, Norman Rockwell, Peter Paul Rubens, Michelangelo, of course, Raphael. I was trying to emulate them while I was working on my my sketchbooks all the time. I always had a book, a sketchbook, a large sketchbook, or a not a big figure drawing pad, but I had a board, um, and I started using Fabriano paper more. So I was using with Carbothello pencils.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of move it around a little bit and get in some fine lines and some soft tones.
Right.
And it's a tone, middle tone paper, so you can add white to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of developed a quick solid sculptural drawing in in the so I started using that every day.
Okay. Um, so I would like it if you talked a little bit about the transition from being an animator to being
Yeah.
just a fine artist. And um, now that you're a fine artist, do you do anything else other than just making paintings and showing them and then selling them? Because that, I mean, that theme has kind of been in my mind a little bit, I guess. Like, what does it mean to live off of your one's art? So then, what does that mean to you? Do you, yeah? So tell me what
Yeah.
you think about these things.
Yeah. So as an animator, mm, I had to really think ahead and plan ahead how I would make a living on my own, and it took a while. And actually, I had to come and go twice. It didn't happen overnight. So in 2001 or two,
Mm-hmm.
after Treasure Planet, Disney was going through lots of changes. They were doing computer animation.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't see myself on, animating on the computer, and I don't know, I just didn't. It wasn't exciting sounding to me to animate with the buttons and the numbers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's all they were gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So I started teaching at Art Center College in Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
I started teaching classical figure drawing, and it was a class called analytical figure drawing. So I applied for that, and they liked my work, and the college hired me for 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I taught classical figure drawing and with anatomy, and so so what that did for me was gave me time to just
You've cut off a little bit.
was there
Okay,
a
you're
little out there.
okay. You're back. Yes, you were out for a little bit.
Okay, was that
And
is that my fault? No.
oh, I don't think it's anyone's fault in particular. I have no idea. Let me try to remember
Okay.
where you were. But you said you were teaching. You were teaching for 7 years. You were
Yeah,
teaching anatomy and yes.
yeah, I started teaching anatomy, and so I had to, since you're an anatomist, right? You love anatomy and
Yeah.
all that. So I was using a book by Stephen Rogers Peck. You probably heard of
Oh
it,
yes, lovely.
Anatomy for the Artist, and then
Yes.
I was using a book by David Rubens,
That one I don't
Anatomy
know.
for the. So okay, yeah, I was using books, and I was also going through like the Bombas German anatomy book.
Yeah.
So I just started like just going full speed into structure, anatomy, and drawing every day, and and then I just sort of developed a curriculum I wanted to teach, and I had a big old thick notebook. I laid out 14 weeks instruction for the figure, and the class was called Analytical Figure Drawing
Okay.
at Center College, and so I did that for 7 years, and I started with uh, gesture for the gesture, which I was really good at because I was an animator for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
getting fluid gestural drawing, and then building the structure on top of that, and focusing on seeing that rhythm and gesture with the structure,
Mm.
and also reinforcing that with the tone also as well. I went in steps with structure, anatomy, and then tone.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for 14 weeks in the classes, and I did that for 7 years. so that segue from leaving Disney um, was like a 7 year thing. So not easy as an artist, as a person. Um, I went through a big change. I had a 2001. I had a divorce.
Oh
I
no.
was married once,
Yeah.
and so and all of a sudden I was like, I was like, I sold my house that I had, and I got this apartment above a coffee shop,
Mm-hmm.
like a bohemian guy,
Yeah.
and I was just like focused, like I was living this bohemian art style life and just focusing on art anatomy and drawing and painting and um and so a lot of us go through stuff like this, like little
Sure.
transitions and things that make you really focus on what you want. And then also in that time I had eye surgery. I i had I was younger, I did kickboxing,
Uh huh.
and I had an injury to my orbital bone
Okay.
when I was younger, like in my 20s, and in 2001 I had to have surgery. So that was the same year that I, like, after Treasure Planet and then like leaving Disney and the divorce, it was just like a horrible time.
Yeah, it sounds like a
So
lot.
I had yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, so I had eye surgery and at that time, and it really puts life in perspective, because they were saying, the doctors didn't know if I was going to have a blind eye
Right.
in my right eye,
Right.
and but thank God, they found a doctor in City of Hope and they fixed up my orbital bone. They had to enforce it because there was like an old injury that caused it to be off alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up fixing it, and so it's been good since then. You know, and
Nice.
thank God. And so by going through stuff like that, you kind of go to your heart and what's really most important to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I always wanted to be a painter and do my art, do my fine art and all that. So I had to, pretty much I went through the fire. Like I went through this really tough time where I was like, okay, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna make a living? Um, so I went down to the fundamentals, to the basics, and I was drawing and painting and getting super solid with my drawing and painting. And I started getting shows. I started like doing a there was this art fair in Beverly Hills, in Beverly Hills Art Fair,
Okay.
and it was like, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. I wonder if I can test that out with my paintings. Like 2004 or five, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I for that, and I got into that, and then this is where Fernando Botero started. You know who Botero is? The
The
famous
the the
Colombian
Colombian
painter.
guy. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, Fernando Botero started at the Beverly Hills Art Fair. Is what I heard. I don't know. So I
Okay.
was like, oh, if he started there, I'm
Sure.
too bad, right? So I so I started doing that like for like a couple years, teaching drawing and all that. So I was doing the Beverly Hills Fair, and I was putting my paintings up on the walls, and in these, like, you had to rent a booth and all that, and it was a lot of work, to do all that, but bring all your work down there, set up a booth, and do all that. But I wanted to get my
Pay for
feet
the
wet,
booth.
see how, yeah, and then just see how people reacted to my work, right? So to put my feelers out there and just see, I was getting my voice as a painter, basically.
Uh huh.
So um so I started selling pretty well, like I won't say the number, how much, but I was selling, I don't know, like maybe 9 or 10 paintings
Well, that's cool.
each time.
That's really cool. But okay. So I mean, so okay. So you have some of your animation work. Sometimes you post it occasionally on Instagram, and then you obviously your Instagram mostly has your current
Yeah.
paintings that is what you do now. So, I mean, how did you get to your paintings from being a full-time animator? Because it's like, so because it's like, obviously, I mean, so it's like, the animator part is kind of more like a collaboration almost, because it has to look a certain way, and it has to look the way that the people who make the movie want the movie to look. But then when you're making your
Right.
own fine art, that is entirely those are entirely your decisions. So then it's like,
Yeah.
how were you able to, I mean, how did you end up with the overall aesthetic of your current work? Because I mean, it's like the treatment of the work, and I mean, this is not mainly a visual, like a video podcast. So if you're listening, a person that is listening, you're gonna have to look it up. Danny's work, it has like this very smooth treatment all over everything. But then, like, the figure, although they're obviously human figures, they're not quote unquote realistic. They're not quote unquote naturalistic in their style. You take liberties with the
Yeah.
anatomy, with the perspective. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you get to that point after having finished with
Yeah.
working for animation?
Yeah. That's a good question. Basically, what it came down to was, like I was saying, I was developing my voice when I was like experimenting, and so I was studying with certain artists, like Steve Houston, and painting and drawing. We were drawing from the model every week for 3 hours every Saturday, and painting. And I I just developed this. Oh, I was also going to Disney Imagineering. Disney Imagineering had workshops,
Okay.
and since I had worked at Disney for so long, so I was friends with people, and I would just go to the painting workshops because they knew me and stuff.
Mm.
So I had models twice a week, full, live models that I was painting from.
Okay.
Thing where I was like, I was studying Sargent,
Oh.
I was doing that impressionistic kind of like prima style, which I love. I did alla prima. I did landscape painting, alla prima, which direct painting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing more and more research of the Renaissance artists, and just by happenstance, by chance, I started researching glazing, um, and then along with that, I started researching the WPA artists, 1930s and 40s artists from the regionalist period.
What does WPA mean?
The WPA was the Works Project Administration,
Okay.
and that was in the 1930s and 40s with FDR.
Okay.
So they were hiring American artists to paint murals, um, to do work in public spaces to uplift the American people after, before the war and after
Right.
the war, World War II. So this art had a Deco vibe, Art
Mm.
Deco,
Mm-hmm.
and it had this really it had this like designed, mm, that, I don't know, it made my blood like happy.
Mm-hmm.
It made me feel good. I loved the design of that Deco 1920s, 30s. Um, and I would go to see murals. I was traveling. I went to New York. I went to Italy several times. I was studying Renaissance murals. I was studying Michelangelo, and, their work is super designed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Those Renaissance guys are really interpreting what they see with the figure, and they're adding muscles where there were no
Yeah.
muscles. They were pushing the rhythms. They were pushing all this stuff and making it in itself. Um, so that really inspired me to come up with a design element and feeling in my work that that was personal to me.
Mm.
So I loved Renaissance, and I loved 1940s regionalist period, like Thomas Hart Benton and those kind of guys. So, and then and then I'll also talk about I grew up with horses.
Okay.
My dad, we had like a farm kind of thing in the valley, San Fernando Valley. We had horses, and I my job was to feed the animals in the morning and clean the coops, the chicken and the horse stalls, and brush the horses. And so I grew up around animals. So I was drawing people. So I had this like 1 foot in the old country and one foot city kind of feeling to
Mm-hmm,
my
mm-hmm.
life.
That's cool.
I so 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 then the segue you're saying, going back, segue from fine art into from Disney into fine art.
Mm-hmm.
So from 2000, like I don't know, 4 or 5, through 2009, doing, I was doing and I did a couple murals. In 2008, I was asked to do some murals at a church, and I did these big, 6 foot arch mural paintings at the St. Charles Borromeo Church in North
Okay.
Hollywood. Built a new building, and they asked me to do that. Um, so I kind of that was in 2008, I believe, and around that time, still in that apartment, and I was like getting cooped in. I had books. I had like bookcases like over me. I had like, I don't want to say how many art books, but thousands, like
A lot.
hundreds and hundreds, but a lot. So I was just like, I was really too cooped in this small place, and wanted to get a bigger place. I'm like, I need to change. And then around that time, 2009, then Princess and the Frog Disney called.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so let's Disney, and I'm gonna do my best to make some more money, and get a bigger place. So so that's what I did. So I ended up going back to Disney 2009, 8, 9 on Princess and the Frog, and then 10 and 11 I worked on Tangled.
Okay.
Was Tangled was 3D, first and only 3D film that I did. Um, but I did some of my best work on Princess and the Frog as an animator. It
Mm-hmm.
was some of my best animation I did. It was funny, even though I was away from animation for so long, just by being a better artist, a better draftsman, I was actually animating better, even though I hadn't done it um,
Interesting.
for 6, 7 years.
Right.
So I did that. It was in 11. I started getting more exhibitions. Even though I was an animator, I was like, okay, we got to go back and forth, segue, and then I got started getting shows in New York
Mm-hmm.
at at a gallery called Arcadia Contemporary. So I had to make a choice. Um, do I stay in animation, or do I go full and do my paintings and do both? And Disney was all CG, and I had done Tangled, and I could do it, and I was getting better at it. Um, but I couldn't do both, so I had to like put all my focus and energy into one, and I ended up in the fine art world,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I got a lot of backlash. I
Uh-huh.
was having friends full like, dude, you're crazy, you're dumb. What are you doing? This is your career. Um, how are you gonna make a living? If you leave, you're never gonna be able to come back to Disney. Um, so I heard all of that, and but I learned, thing I learned as an animator, as an artist, is to trust your gut feelings
Mm-hmm.
as an artist. And my gut feeling was like, I know I can do this. I could I could come up with shows. I know I could sell my paintings, and so I did that. So I ended up uh, showing in New York. Doing an annual exhibition and group shows. Doing my gallery, oil on canvas, oil on linen, that stuff. I was painting um, so I grew up in the Southern California, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a kid, I was always going to the beach. I was also going fishing. My grandfather, who I was really close to, he was Sicilian, and he was in the United States Navy in the 1930s and 40s. So another reason why I love the 30s and 40s, because him and he would always give me stories every Sunday over a big Italian dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and we would always talk about the old Navy days in the 30s and uh, in the 40s. And so I kind of grew up with this sort of like, realistic love for that period, and that developed into my work. So going with my family to the beaches on the weekends as a kid. So I said, so I heard the old quote, paint what you know.
Right.
So I'm gonna paint the beach. I love figures, and so painting, doing these beach paintings, and I was good at it, and I still love that subject, and I still go back to that. But I also grew up with um, I was going to horse shows, I was going to rodeos because my dad calf roping and all that stuff, and and we would go to quarter horse shows because I grew up with horses because my dad had quarter horses that we would use for shows, and um, yeah. So I grew up with all that, with the little, I don't know, horses, dogs, chickens, like we had animals everywhere and stuff. So this one foot in the city, beach life, in the country, horsey, westerny Americana life.
Okay.
Um, and then also, then my dad's dad, he was like super, I don't know, Americana lifestyle because he was a clothing shop. He was like, they were like tailors,
Mm-hmm.
so in Hollywood. So in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, they had a menswear shop in Hollywood, right in the middle of Hollywood, and all the movie stars would go there. So like Elvis Presley, the famous like Duke Ellington. These guys were going into my grandfather's shop and buying, clothes and suits and stuff.
That's cool.
I grew up with this sort of, yeah, I grew up with that kind of like, whoa, cool, like this like love of old Hollywood and all
Mm-hmm.
that. So so I started putting that into my work too, and I love love old movies. I grew up with watching old movies with my grandparents, and so that has leaked over into my life now, where the TV channel TCM
Yes.
channel. So I have that on in my house, like it's in the background.
Okay.
I'm constantly watching like 1940s, 50s movies and all that, and um, so I have this love of the Americana, Western vibe from that background, and I also love the classic movies, the beaches, and then I mix in um, my love of the figure.
Right.
I'm like a figurative artist, mixing all of that in the Renaissance, these regionalists, and so I kind of I came up with, I wanted to like, as artists, you want to kind of have a name for your work.
Right.
Like you want to say, what am I doing? Like what am I actually doing? And I found out like from some artist friends, there's like, oh, the regionalists, the old regionalists from the 40s. What we're doing is new regionalism. Um, pop. I call my work pop regionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've this work. Um, that's kind of what has happened with. It's like a style that's developed and it's by itself in a way.
Right.
So I yeah. So painting like 4 years ago, called the Beach Bevy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a, I don't know, it's like 4 by 6 foot. And my love of Renaissance, so I found a drawing by Michelangelo. Um, it was like this war scene was in competition with Leonardo,
Okay.
uh, like a mural competition.
Mm-hmm.
Just gave them this competition. Pope Julius II had, okay, I want to see who's gonna do this. I think something happened. Either there was like the Spanish Inquisition War, where either the mural was destroyed or it was never done. I forget exactly, but that the original Michelangelo drawing was lost, but there was copies of other artists.
Mm-hmm.
But I always loved this drawing, and so I was looking at it and I saw a beach scene.
I
So
see.
I ended up doing this like based on all the poses of Michelangelo's war scene. So this painting that I ended up finishing, purchased by the Hilbert Museum,
Mm-hmm.
County. So they're having an opening. Actually, I think this week
Oh, that's cool.
they reconstructed their museum, and it's opening next week. I
Okay.
think.
And
Anyways,
that
my
painting's gonna
painting
be
there is
there?
gonna.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So,
I'm happy to.
yeah, nicely done, and the imagery sounds really cool as well, like how you put it together. Okay, so Mr. Galieote, what is art in your opinion?
So art is in the eye of the beholder, obviously. Also, art is creating. For me, it's creating stuff in visuals, creating physical objects, and say something or teach something to your viewer. It's going to uplift them. It's a language. It's a visual language.
Mm-hmm.
So what, we're besides all the elements of art, line, does line, shape, form, tone, all those kind of fundamentals. Set those aside, and so it becomes just like a physical um, language, visual language, using to speak to your viewer with. So
Mm-hmm.
so for me personally, it's the classical sense of sculptural figures, sculptural form, to idealize my love of, the human figure and of life, and uplifting. So for somebody else, they like the macabre. They like stuff that's kind of their art might be, or their art might be florals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, their love might be design straight elements like a Rothko, or pure color to give a feeling. Is is sharing your love. Your love is the fundamental common denominator in all art to me. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a love of something and you don't want to share that, then that you're not doing your art, like. So that's that to me. That's what it is. It's sharing what you love
Mm-hmm.
is your art, and you could do it visually, you can do it audibly, like uh, sculpturally,
Right.
three-dimensionally,
Yeah.
uh, film, which is scene by scene,
Right.
plus of a movie, a message,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing that message. um so so to me that's what it is. It's love. It's sharing your love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Um, how do you reconcile that with the initial thought that art is in the eye of the beholder? Because because all right, just give me a second. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
um, you know,
yeah.
kind of preceding your own thoughts on the subject with that. Um, I mean, I just think the two things are kind of like in contrast because, like, I understand the idea because I mean, people will typically say that for beauty as well. It's like a super common in the last. It's like a super common thing to say for the last about 100 years, like just under 100 years, I think. That this or that is in the eye of the beholder, and I mean, there is
Hmm.
a small degree of that, I think, in because people's tastes, of course, have a variation, but at the same time, not only are there
Yeah.
clusters of things that more people like more often, but there's also like a commonality in the subjects that humans tend to like. Um,
Yeah.
so
That's human
so
nature.
so right. So like not only I mean so like what do you think about that? Do you think I mean do you, I mean so like what is your argument in favor of because just because you said it, and at the same time I'd like to know um
Hmm.
like how do you reconcile that with your very thoughtful definition or idea of what art is? Because I agree with what you said afterwards, that it's like art is where you make an art object that depicts one's you're the artist's love of something, in your case the figure, in my case the figure. And so like love is no simple word. Love is a deep feeling, and it kind of translating that into an imagery, into an image, into an object is no kind of like what I think is rather shallow and kind of like a cop out in a way of saying that of somebody that legitimately thinks that art is in the eye of the beholder. So tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, it is. And it's also, what are we trying to say with our art? You know, like if it's not just love, okay, it's in the eye of the beholder, but what are we down to the fundamental common denominator? What are you trying to say with the artwork? And like for example, there might be things that you don't love in your artwork. Like so somebody might war, like doing, paintings of these people in this small village that were getting, bombed, or say something about that and his hatred of it.
Mm-hmm.
And or there was Guernica by Picasso, that big abstract that he did, of the bombing of that small town in Spain back in, before World War II, like the bombing of Guernica. And there was like, so this hatred, making beauty out of something that they find horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a visual language. It's it is in the eye of the beholder, in the sense that whoever looks upon it is going to see something different. Whoever's going to see my painting is going to see it through their experience in life. Or my friends see it in my painting, relate to it in a different way as well. So you put your story out there, your artwork out there, what you love, and that love is going to come through, or your message, your feeling is going to come through. So maybe it's only a feeling that you have, or maybe there's just a feeling or a feeling of pain, or of anxiety, or um uh that kind of stuff. So like this can be the can be the impetus to create a piece of art, not just not just only love,
Sure.
but so um so in terms of that, I ties into other things that I think about with my paintings is I think about like over like the thing that excites me about people, about the world and everything,
Mm-hmm.
the human body and the human person is nature in our
Is what?
human nature,
Okay.
our human nature as just being people. What do people want in life? What do we need? Like what down to the fundamentals, and like so I think about that stuff like I don't know, I'm sure you guys have had psychology classes as a kid, when you were younger in college and stuff, where you had like my Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You guys
Mm-hmm.
have heard of that?
Yeah.
Like physical needs, like social, the security, all that stuff. So we have these like human nature, um, basic fundamental needs that we all have. So in art and people, we see that everywhere.
Right.
Like we go that when I go to the beach, I see people doing their family outings, or you see a couple laying together, having a snack. Um, you see a family sharing chopped up mangoes, or you see people swimming, enjoying themselves, jumping in the water. You see fishermen. You see boats passing by, and then maybe they have a swordfish. It's like, which is like a whole other thing, like this whole the circle of life.
Right.
So it comes down to me is like it's human nature. It's the beauty of human nature, timelessness of human nature. There's like there's a timelessness and a connection that we have, that you have, that all of us have to the past.
Right.
So we're here living now in 2024, but go back 100 years ago, 1924, and essentially these human needs were the same, all connected. Go back to 1824, but we're all connected in that way. We all have these needs. We need to have our clothing. We need to have shelter. We want to have food and water, and that love of family, the love of friends, the interaction with people. So so that's psychologically the stuff behind the visual language
Mm-hmm.
that's in our artwork. So so by for me, idealizing, stylizing the human figure is not just only about the human figure. It's about uplifting, and what am I saying? I love this timeless feeling of people going to the beach, or of people um being together as friends, as lovers, as a couple, or as a family. And so there's this timelessness to it.
Okay.
So that's what I look for when I'm kind of like getting ideas for my work. uh, different ways to work with that. Like what's my the context might change it for me. um I can say that like working with beach or with western subject, with movies, theater,
Mm-hmm.
film, cinema, like all those subjects together for me are and ways to show that timelessness
Okay.
of
Okay.
like all of it in a handful, you know.
Yes. Okay. All right. Mr. Galiote, what is beauty in your opinion?
Beauty. Beauty is, for me, it's kind of like a is creating work, creating something visual that will speak and give somebody a feeling of whatever you're trying to get across. So there's something, the beauty might be something ugly, but what is ugly, you know? It might be something out of proportion, you know. It might be something um that's less organized. You know, there's like this thing with organization and composition and, you know, like the in nature we have the what is it called, the what's the the helix, the swirl
The
composition.
golden ratio?
It slipped my mind.
You cut off again.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Is it
Or,
the? Were you talking about the golden ratio? Like the golden?
yeah, the golden mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, the Greeks, um, and through nature we came up with this of, you know, like of order and composition with, you know, like the golden mean and finding that sort of like pleasing to the eye. Humans as people have an inclination towards things that are within this sort of like, I don't want to say like perfection, but sort of like it's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
There's like some kind of a balance. There's some kind of a, either with color, balance with proportion. Um, the things that work together in terms of color, um, fluidity, movement, um, rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a beauty in rhythm. That's a big element for me that I love, that I've always loved, and especially with the human figure, is the rhythm of the body.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a, um, you know, it goes down to, you know, like when I was teaching figure drawing for many years, I would always talk about the rhythm of the body,
Right.
the opposing rhythms of the body,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the balance that the body has. So I look at that in my paintings as well. Like there's this like, if something is coming here, then I'm going to look over here against this over here. There's this like opposing action.
Right.
And so, oh, there was a quote by Rodin, book Rodin. Uh, what was the name of the book? I forgot. There was like somebody recorded all of Rodin's comments about art. You know, the famous sculptor Rodin,
Mm-hmm.
Auguste Rodin, and he said movement. I'm paraphrasing here. It's like is the most important element in art.
Okay.
Works of, it's the breath. Movement is the breath of all good works.
Okay.
So 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 when I look at when I try to figure out my own work, definitely something to me that's got beauty in it that I try to capture is this in art, in the artwork. Balance. There's a balance to it. There's a language to it, a visual language. What are you trying to say with it? That's where the beauty lies, I think. That we're all I mean, if you look at good movies, there's like a balance to it. Things a fulfillment feeling to them. There's a beginning, middle, and an end. There's a structure. There's a structure to it. There's a fulfillment at the end. There's a finish to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the elements that to me that make beauty in art.
Okay. Well, I definitely like that a lot, and I agree with you on these points about beauty and
Yeah.
what makes a work of art um,
Hmm.
kind of
Appealing.
like make what?
Appealing.
I mean, what is it? I mean,
Like.
that those are the things that make appealing. Those are the things that make the viewer experience beauty whilst looking at a work of art. And I particularly like the part about how this is basically just derived from nature because
Yeah.
we humans or the Greeks or whomever didn't necessarily like come up with the golden mean. It's like we just
Hmm.
noticed we just noticed that it was present everywhere in nature, and then we're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is like a measurement that is constantly present in just
Hmm.
in nature's own design. And it makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense that it would be also present when we go to make our own visual work, or just really any kind of work, because like that same kind of proportion can be present in any kind of, like you were saying, any kind of visual work, any auditory work, in
Hmm.
movies, in writing, probably in some way, I don't know how, but in just like all
Hmm.
the arts in general. And I like the
Yeah.
idea. I like that a lot because of the fact that since we are a product of nature, and all of our ideas, everything that we think of, is derived from nature empirically, then it makes a lot of sense that those things would be the basis upon which we would make
Hmm.
work. Whether it's imagery, movies, or like I was saying, like writing, music, just whatever. And
The arts. Yeah.
I think that whoever does those things most, in the most refreshing way, in the most accurate way, or
Hmm.
like in the most whatever, like the best way or whatever, it's like those are probably the works
Hmm.
that kind of stand the work of the test of time, as they say.
Things that you can look back. This in good art, whether it's a painting or a movie or writing or music or dancing or whatever. Like you can go back to it over and over and over and over, and you get something new every time. There's all these layers.
Yes.
There's like layers of an onion to great work. Like it's a something that you can to and go back to and say, oh yeah, yeah, I think you know this was done in this piece or whatever, and there was like these layers that unravel and unveil themselves over and over because there's a lot of I guess you could say there was a lot of preparation that went into creating this. It wasn't just a slap of splattered paint on the wall. There
Mm-hmm.
was like there was lots of preparation and meaning in creating it. Those layers. So that's one thing that I've noticed in a lot of great artworks. There's lots of
Mm.
layers of meaning, lots of preparation, lots of like just there's a lot going on. There's like talk about just visual stuff. You got the color, you got the composition, you got the rhythm, you got the movement, you got the figure, the solidity or whatever kind of figure that they do. It's impressionistic or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but all these elements are there's, you know, um, and like yeah, with film, there's like with painting, there's like these all the parts come together, in a nice how to say, but they come together in a cohesive manner that speaks to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that speaks to our human nature, to our um, that timelessness, visuals, or like you said, like you were saying about how we noticed, the golden mean in nature and how it's already there.
Yes.
So it all comes together in our artwork, however we express ourselves
Mm.
in
Okay.
in our art.
Okay.
So
All right, so Mr. Galieote, we have broken the hour-long mark of our conversation, so I'm going to start to close it out here. Is there anything you'd like to add
yeah.
if you want to go further into this show you said was, oh, this big painting that you made recently, like where is that? When is it going to open? When will it be available for the public? And is there anything else that is coming up that you want to talk about? Where can people find your work?
Hmm. Okay, the Hilbert Museum of California Art
Okay.
in Orange County at Chapman University is is having a grand reopening, and I think it opens on the 23rd, which is Saturday
Uh, in
this
two
week.
days.
That's in Southern California, and
Yeah,
so that they have
it's Friday. That's day after tomorrow.
it's a grand reopening, and I
Yeah.
think people can call and I think you make a reservation. I don't know, but 100% on exactly how that works, or you just go get tickets or whatever. But they have several of my paintings, but I know that one particular large beach painting that I did is going to be there at the grand opening.
Okay.
I'm also working on paintings for Maxwell Alexander Gallery,
Okay.
and that's in LA, and now they're moving to Pasadena. They have a new gallery space in Pasadena that will be opening, and uh, I'm starting on embarking on a bunch of work for a solo show later in the year or early or next for the spring. So I have to do like 15 paintings um, in progress for that, and um, and I have several lectures of drawing online with New Masters Academy
Mm-hmm. Okay.
org with Joshua Jacobo, as you mentioned.
Okay.
Um, I have work on there. I have, and I'm working on is in progress right now
On what in
that are
progress?
going to clients. Um,
You're working on what in
what else?
progress? Commissions?
Commissions,
Oh, nice.
but
Okay.
yeah, personal commissions. That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing right now,
Okay.
um, and yeah, so I'm doing work for that for these shows that are coming up, and with the museum, one that's most accessible right now
Yeah.
in
More
Southern
immediate.
California, that more immediate. Um, doing for this tours tours exhibition in Denver. Also, I just had that, and they're gonna do another one early
So
next
so
year. So I'm
listen,
preparing.
the grand reopening that you're talking about, is that gonna, so is your work gonna be there in permanent, like permanent exhibition?
Minute collection, yeah,
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that they have several of my pieces in their permanent collection. I guess they kind of rotate
Yeah.
the, but definitely the large beach painting. It's called the Beach Bevy.
Yeah.
I call it. That one is. is going to be there at the grand opening. Yeah, so I have several pieces. I mean, they have. I did a series um, of the new Four Freedoms. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Four Freedoms by Norman Rockwell in the 1940s.
Okay.
Um, I did new versions of that in honor of Rockwell, as an homage to Norman Rockwell.
Okay.
The museum bought two of them, so those might show up in the museum.
Okay.
Uh, and then collectors bought the other two, so there was four freedom. So I kind of did modern versions with modern people, like mixed races and all that kind of stuff, and I did those four, and so those are gonna pop up as well.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, so right now, yeah, I'm just working, and working on my paintings for my upcoming shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that nice work staying busy and getting lots of things done and getting your work shown in lots of places. That's really great. Well, thank you, Danny, very much for talking with me today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to support Danny and my podcast, you can do so through the links in the video description and taking note of the dates that of the shows that Danny mentioned. And I mean, I'm sure that stuff is going to be like on your Instagram and your website. So, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just my Instagram is just Danny Galieote,
Okay.
and it's just DANNYLIEOTE.
Okay, that's
Check
definitely
that
going to
out.
be that link to that to your Instagram is definitely going to be in the caption. So if anyone's interested, they can go directly to your Instagram through the link in the caption. That will be in the caption. So yes, thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to check out the links in the description. Thank you again, everyone, and bye. See you next time.